Hey YouTube, WYZZWYG 101 here. Wanted to do a quick review of my new Ruger 1022. It has taken me 3 trips to the range to zero this thing in. Most of that was due to my own lack of knowledge. First off, when I was in the Army over 25 years ago, I only fired with iron sights. I've never used a scope. Right here is my Ruger 1022, and as most of you know, this is the workhorse 22 caliber rifle that most of the United States uses. Marlin's got a pretty nice rifle out there, evidently, a couple of them, but this one here is the one that most people buy. Ruger also makes a 1022 takedown. They make one with a synthetic stock, and they make one that's a stainless steel that looks really nice as well. This is roughly about 5 pounds without the scope, without the magazine. It is approximately 37 inches in length, and about the barrel length is about 18.5 inches. I've been told that this wood grain, is a nice birch wood. I've also seen some other ones in a lighter wood, like an oak or something, and some other stuff. I don't know. I don't know wood that well. I have done a little bit of work to slick that bolt up with some sandpaper and some other stuff, and I've also polished the bolt quite a bit in a few key contact areas. So that thing works smooth as butter. Whenever I fired it using the 10-round rotary mag that came with it. I can say that word, rotary mag, and that worked fine. I also purchased 2 Ruger BX25 25-round magazines, and I did have some issues with this, but it was my fault, and I'll get back on that with another video. My preferred ammunition was CCI AR Tactical, and a little bit CCR or CCI Mini Mag. I will say for the bulk of my zeroing, it was CCI AR Tactical. Now, one of the things, and this caused some problems with the magazine, I like the copper plates. First off, let me just say that. But these have a wax buildup on the tip, and that caused a problem, which I'll get to in the next video about those magazines. So, about the rifle. The first time I zeroed it, I had no idea that these right here came off. I thought that whenever I needed to adjust that scope, I'd turn that knob. No. Not with this cheap BSA scope. That is not the case. So my second trip, where the first trip was about 300 rounds, where I fired the iron sights and did quite well at 50 yards. I said 75 in an earlier video. It was actually 50 yards. But for my naked eye, somebody uses specs, I think I did okay with the iron sights. So anyways, my second trip, I learned about this right here. Now here's what I learned, for those of you who don't know how to use a scope, is it clicks, okay? For each click, that's a 1/4 inch on your target. So, let's take a typical target right here, and we're going to go with right there. You see that one? You'll notice it's about 1/2 inch up, and about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches plus a half, 5.5 inches away from the center of the target. So that's 22 clicks. 4 clicks per inch, and then 2 clicks for that 1/2 inch, just to get it over to the center. Plus, I need 2 clicks down to get it dead on target. So I did that. Okay, again, 300 rounds. But I wondered, because the sight was kind of cockeyed a little bit. So, but I zeroed it, right? Wrong. What had happened was because I didn't use Loctite on it, that had come loose at some point, and I tightened it back up. But the block underneath it wasn't seated correctly. So I zeroed it to a scope that wasn't seated right. So when I did seat it correctly, my shots were way off target again. Thus ends the third trip to the range, or the second trip to the range to zero this weapon. Pardon me. I got a little bit of a cold here. So let's go to my third trip to the range. Okay. It's very important. Once again, I popped off about 300 rounds. This time, I knew how to do the adjustment on the scope, and I made sure that everything on this sight on this was done with Loctite. I have Loctite locking down the rail, and I have Loctite on these, and they're seated correctly. Again, I'm not that good at it, so it took me a long time and a lot of rounds. I would fire 3 rounds, like I was taught in the military, and then try and adjust for that. I was still unsure of how many clicks it would take, so I just twisted it, fired off 3 rounds, twisted it, fired off 3 rounds, till finally I got it. By the time I left the range that day, this was my target. You'll notice a lot of them were right there, right there in the center. Up here, you'll notice there's some more, and those are sight rounds, just trying to zero it in some more. But finally ended up right there. And then I got another target, which I can't find, and boom, everything right there in the center is destroyed. So once I got it zeroed in, I'm a happy camper with it. I like my Ruger 10/22. At 50 yards, I'm pretty dadgum deadly. Now, one thing that kind of ticks me off is after I got this locked in with some Loctite and everything, I noticed that, like an idiot, I didn't put my front or my rear sight forward and down. So now I don't know if that's going to be pushing up on my scope and maybe altering it, or if it's just going to be fine. I've been told it's going to be fine. So there it is. That's my review on my zeroing experience with this. I have learned a lot from it, so that if I ever get a proper rifle with a proper scope, I think I know exactly what I need to do to get it zeroed in properly. So I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. Thanks for listening. This is a long video for me to get absolutely nowhere practically, but I hope you enjoyed it. So with that, I'm just going to say stay safe and shoot straight.